Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. And some more will join as we're going. I'm Jeff Clements, president of American Promise, and we're very glad to be joined by Represent Us and Protect Maine elections as well in bringing this important update for you about the exciting campaign in the state of Maine. I'm going to introduce our first speaker, State Senator Rick Bennett, in just a minute, but wanted to just give you a quick preview. As you know, this is a ballot campaign, and it is all hands on deck time. It's really exciting. It's probably going to be one of the premier national campaigns because it's dealing with an issue at the top of people's minds: elections, foreign influence in elections, the voice of we the people and the voter. And big, effective solutions, both at the state level and the national level. So you're going to hear from Rob Booth at Represent Us. You're going to hear from Kaitlin Lacasse, who's running the Protect Maine Elections campaign. You're going to hear from Congressman Jared Golden, who is taking votes right now in the Capitol as we speak, and we'll get here as soon as he can. And you are now going to hear from State Senator Rick Bennett from Norway, Maine, a Republican who's represented the people of Maine several years previously, and became the Senate president in the Senate in Maine, as well as the head of the Maine Republican Party for several years. He also had a career in business and has a career in business, and now is back while still engaging in his business career, serving the people of Maine as a senator who will share with us the experience that led to this ballot initiative and the remarkable and deleterious impact of money in Maine's political system, including from foreign government-owned entities. So my great pleasure to introduce an amazing leader who works across the aisle, puts the people and the state of Maine first. Senator Rick Bennett. Thank you, Rick, for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you, Jeff, so much for your kind comments. And I want to thank you. I want to thank American Promise. I also want to join you in thanking Rob Booth and Represent Us. We're really grateful for your support and partnership. Let me start by just explaining a little bit about the Protect Maine Elections effort. It's a citizens initiative, which in Maine is a wonderful thing that we have. When all else fails, the people of Maine can take their cause directly to the people by collecting signatures and petitioning the government to change a law. Now, in Maine, it's traditional in such situations for the legislature, when they receive such a petition, to send that measure back out to the people, because they figure if 60, 70, 80,000 people of Maine care enough to sign a petition, that maybe they want to be involved in the lawmaking itself, and our Constitution allows for that. The Protect Maine Elections effort is a citizens initiative. It was drafted in close consultation with the Campaign Legal Center, the Voters' Right to Know, Maine Citizens for Clean Elections, the League of Women Voters of Maine. And so it's a broad coalition of partners who are committed to reforming our broken campaign finance system. Our initiative accomplishes four main objectives. First, it affirms Maine's support for an anti-corruption amendment to the United States Constitution and charges the state of Maine to report on the bipartisan progress made by Maine's delegation in Congress to advance this amendment. Of course, we have 27 amendments. We're talking about a 28th amendment that will allow people across this country to regulate the amazing and astonishing and absurd flows of funds that are coming into our political system. The second thing that the Protect Maine Elections initiative will do will prohibit contributions and expenditures by foreign governments and their subsidiaries in Maine referenda and candidate campaigns. Now, you'd say like, well, isn't foreign spending in elections illegal? We all are familiar with the fact that even where it is illegal, these rules are not necessarily terribly enforceable. But yet in Maine, we actually have a loophole that needs to be closed. This loophole allows foreign governments not to contribute to candidate campaigns, that is the elections of people who make laws, but it does allow them to contribute directly to campaigns for the making of laws, citizens initiative and referendum campaigns. So we would close that loophole. The third thing that Protect Maine Elections does is it will require disclaimers on ads paid for by foreign governments that seek to influence public policy, so Mainers can clearly distinguish these advertisements. And finally, the fourth thing that Protect Maine Elections initiative seeks to accomplish is it would mandate that media outlets regulate advertisements to avoid violations of this law and require the immediate reporting and the immediate removal of prohibited communications. We all know that our broadcasters receive millions of dollars in our campaign spending system. Well, this puts a bit of the burden on them to make sure that the funds that they are benefiting from are coming from licit sources. Now, let me give you a quick background on the campaign. Our initiative is based on legislation that was proposed by myself and Representative Nicole Grahowski, who's a Democrat of Ellsworth, Maine. And in fact, she just won a special election to the state Senate, so she'll be joining me in the state Senate. I'm a Republican, she's a Democrat. We proposed this bill in 2021. The reason this bill came up was that we actually had a referendum campaign in Maine last year where a foreign government entity, believe it or not, spent ultimately and astonishingly $22 million, which in Maine is a hell of a lot of money, unprecedented amount of money in a Maine referendum campaign. $22 million spent by a foreign government entity. This really exposed this loophole that we have in Maine that allows for any foreign government, for whatever reason, to spend money in Maine referendum elections. We realized then that we needed to close this loophole. In fact, the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, a year ago, last July 2021, ruled that they do not have jurisdiction over such spending, so it must be done at the state level, and that's what we're seeking to do in Maine. Now, my bill actually sailed through the Maine legislature with strong bipartisan support, actually tripartisan support. Ultimately, it was vetoed by Maine's governor. Won't get into the details unless you ask me. I'm happy to do that. But we realized that we need to broaden the conversation. And we need to fix that loophole, but we also need to broaden the conversation and demand action on the greater problem of money in politics. So our initiative also includes disclosure and transparency provisions that were in some other legislation that was introduced by former Representative Kyle Bailey, Democrat of Gorham, and Representative Nathan Carlo, was a Republican from Buxton. Now, the political landscape in Maine, as you can see from the origins of this initiative, has an amazing amount of support for this. We've all been out collecting signatures to gather the necessary requirements for signatures so that we can go on the ballot. And people really are responding tremendously well to this initiative. There's, as I said, there's not only bipartisan support, there's tripartisan support. Jeff likes to use the term cross-partisan, and I love that term because it sort of wipes all of that nonsense out. Maine voters have consistently voted to purge big, dark, and corrupt monies from our politics. including back in 2015, a referendum in which voters strengthened our state's first in the nation clean elections law. I run under the Clean Election Act. It's a glorious thing. It allows people to run without taking money from lobbyists, from big corporations, from the uber wealthy. You can run a very competitive campaign. It encourages a lot of people to run in Maine who otherwise wouldn't. We have a great clean elections law. And Mainers have been tremendously supportive of all these reforms. Now, for our initiative, the Protect Maine Elections effort, we don't know yet if any major opposition will emerge. But right now, polling from just a couple of years ago shows that 73% of Mainers support the constitutional amendment provision of our initiative. That's 3/4 of Mainers support that. And these numbers reflect our recent conversations that we've all had in the field with voters as we've been collecting signatures. We believe Mainers of all political persuasions overwhelmingly support the initiative. Now, if you're interested in the gritty, nitty details of this initiative, you can go to our website, protectmaineelections.com. You can read op-eds written about this, some by me, some by a lot of other folks. There is the entire text of the proposed amendment to our statutes that will be there. And I encourage you to do that. Take a look at it. What we're trying to do here is really amazing and unprecedented. We're going to need your support. We have tremendous support in Maine, but what we're doing is a bellwether, as it often is in Maine, for changes to come across this country. We desperately need to take control of our broken campaign finance system in order to be able to take control back of our democracy itself. So I encourage you to please learn more about this initiative and please join us in this campaign. I'm really thrilled now to introduce someone who is on the other side of the aisle from me, but is a great leader and represents me in the United States Congress. Congressman Jared Golden has led in the United States House of Representatives on campaign finance reform initiatives. He understands Maine well. His district, by the way, is the largest district geographically east of the Mississippi River. Jared Golden represents people from some of the biggest towns in Maine, some of the cities, but he also represents all of rural Maine, from Freiburg to Fort Kent, down to Lubec, the down east part. And so he's got a lot to cover. And I'm thrilled personally to have Jared's enthusiastic involvement in our effort here in Maine and his leadership in Washington, trying to fix our broken campaign finance system. And Jared, if you can now, I'd love to turn this over to you for some comments.
Well, thanks so much, Rick. It's a real pleasure to be here with you tonight. So Senator Bennett is fast becoming one of my favorite elected officials to work with. And I say that, by the way, you might not all know this, but in the 2020 very crowded Democratic primary, actually my candidate of choice, this was publicly announced, was Senator Bennett. Of course, at the time I was talking about the guy from Colorado at the federal level, and I still think he's an outstanding guy. But Rick Bennett is truly an outstanding individual who's doing great work in the Maine State Legislature and in the Maine Senate. And it's not just on this issue or these types of issues, but others. And he's proven himself to be someone who cares deeply about the state of Maine, about the people of Maine, about the country. He, I think, would think of himself, describe himself as a proud Republican, but he's going to put party, secondary to his commitment to the people he represents, to the state of Maine, and to the United States. That's the way it should be. On this particular issue, I thought I would start things off by reading something from you. I thought I'd get a little bit maybe nerdy on you. This is Hamilton. It's the Federalist number 68, where he wrote to the people of New York in trying to convince them about the beauty of this new system of government that he was advocating that they adopt, that nothing was more to be desired than that every practical obstacle should be opposed to cabal, intrigue, and corruption. These most deadly adversaries of Republican government might naturally have been expected to make their approaches from more than one quarter, but chiefly from the desire in foreign powers to gain an improper ascendant in our councils. This is just one of several times in the Federalist Papers that our founders expressed their extreme concern and unease with the concept and the very real threat of foreign involvement in our internal domestic affairs, and most importantly, of course, in our elections. And while they were talking about a new federal government and system in our Constitution, I don't think that that concern was limited simply to federal and state, to federal issues. I think they were just as concerned that it would apply anywhere where Republican government is in place. And we know that actually because one of their big concerns was that foreign powers would leverage the states against one another and drive a rift and divide us apart. And I think this is just as much a concern at every level of our government, federal, state, and local. It is a very serious issue. In my opinion, the FEC got this wrong recently when they ruled that foreign money was not banned from being spent in referenda in America. And we got to fix that. So that's what this referendum seeks to do in the state of Maine. Senator Bennett and I wrote an op-ed about this in the Maine papers. I think this one was in the Bangor Daily News. So please look it up. Maybe we could share it with you on a link and give it a read. But we can summarize, I think, the key point with this one simple sentence that we had right here. Not even a full sentence. That this money threatens to drown out the voices of regular Mainers. There you go. At its very heart, that's what this is about, is that our elections are meant to be an opportunity for the American people to engage in our political process, in our election system, to let their voices be heard and elect individuals, or in this instance, to elect a policy position that they think is right, or to undo one. We've got the veto process, the citizens-led veto process in the state of Maine. We've seen that exercise before. This is about the people of Maine letting their voices be heard. That is what an election is all about. And we shouldn't be letting big money drown it out, but more, if we can't agree about that, we definitely shouldn't be letting foreign money drown out the voices of the American people. So that's why I'm passionate about this issue. I'm glad that Maine is seeking to lead on this, as we often do with many a referendum. This is a great piece of reform and one that I think could lead in the way in pushing back against a flawed FEC ruling that I think was really damaging. And it's going to open up the floodgates. We've seen foreign money spent to influence referendum elsewhere in the country. I think that ruling really does open up the floodgates and could make it far worse. At the federal level, I am the co-sponsor of legislation immediately following that FEC decision to actually put it into statute and say, no, we're not going to allow that across all 50 states. But I think it actually has, at this point in time, perhaps a tougher road to becoming federal law than this referendum, which I think could be very successful if we can get it on the ballot. And I think that the people of Maine will understand its importance. But the bill that I am working on would amend the Federal Election Campaign Act to ban contributions and donations made by foreign nationals and state and local ballot initiatives and referenda. I also want to point out a couple of other things, because maybe you're just not aware that how big of a problem this is. You know, Rick talked about 22 million spent in Maine. Well, it goes a lot further than that. I am the sponsor of a bill to ban, to bar, I guess is the better word, high-ranking public officials, members of Congress, presidents, vice presidents, cabinet secretaries, and their closest family members from earning a salary from or holding an investment in a foreign business as long as the official is in office. I can tell you there are people in these high-level positions sitting on boards getting paid, the boards of foreign-owned entities getting paid pretty healthy sums while in elected office. I think that's a problem. I've just introduced a bill working with something called the Helsinki Commission. And it's a very bipartisan bill with people like Lance Gooden from Texas, a Republican, Katie Porter from California, and Paul Gosar from Arizona, also a Republican. And in this instance, we would say that tax-exempt organizations, including think tanks, would have to publicly disclose any high-dollar gifts from foreign governments or foreign political parties, and that disclosure would then be posted publicly so people would at least know that their work and the proposals that they put forward are funded by foreign governments. A lifetime ban on former U.S. military officers, presidents, vice presidents, senior executive branch officials, and members of Congress from ever becoming a registered lobbyist for a foreign principal. A practice that is far too common these days, unfortunately. We've seen some recent headlines about that in just the last couple of weeks. And lastly, in the 21st century, would require that campaigns start to verify that online contributions have a valid U.S. address. And this is as simple as using a credit card's 3-digit CVV code, and yet it's not currently required. And in addition, it would prohibit foreign agents from fundraising for political campaigns. You'd think that wasn't possible, right? We know that foreign individuals can't give money to a campaign. But guess again, under current law, foreign lobbyists can bundle money, and they bundle millions of dollars for campaigns in every election cycle. So they can't give, but they can travel around and bundle the donations of American citizens to try and influence elections. We got to really crack down on this, folks. Hundreds of millions of dollars in all, I think it's fair to say, finding ways through various loopholes. Probably I'm understating the true scale, influencing our internal politics and our elections. It's a big problem. And some of these entities may have good intentions, or simply wants to make some kind of profit. Okay, some of them are absolutely malign, and they want to divide us, and they don't want democracy to succeed around the globe. And they'd like to see democracy come apart at the seams in America. So I actually view this as a national security imperative, and one that is core to protecting American democracy in the long run. In the short run here, I at least want to do what I can to protect Maine's people's voices, making their own decisions about ballot initiatives and referendum in the state of Maine. But there's a lot more to do beyond that. But I think this one's a big step in the right direction. I want to thank everyone for being involved, and a special thanks to my friends Rick Bennett and Seth Berry for leading the charge on this. I appreciate it very much, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help. I hope that you all will do everything that you can to see it be successful as well. So with that, Rick, I'm going to turn it right back over to you all.
Thank you, Congressman. I really appreciate all your great work in this area, and it takes all of us. We got to set party aside when we're fixing our democracy here. It's crucial for our future. Really happy now to introduce our campaign manager, who is an amazing woman. She has done just remarkable things in Maine, doing the impossible in many cases, working across the all across the spectrum in initiatives and ballot reform measures and various initiatives to make our democracy stronger. We're really fortunate to have Kaitlin Lacasse as our campaign manager. Kaitlin, thank you for your leadership of our effort.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you, Rick. It has been so much fun and wonderful working with you on this effort. Thank you, Congressman Golden, for your longstanding support of this and for all of your help as well. And thank you, Jeff and American Promise. We are grateful for your partnership in this, and to Rob and Represent Us. We are one of the most exciting things about this effort is just that there is such a broad group of folks and organizations and different people who are all coming together to work with us and make sure that this happens. And I find it so energizing to be meeting with people and working with people from all across the state and all across the country to make sure we get this done. I wanted to take a moment tonight to tell you where our campaign is in our effort. Right now, we are laser focused on collecting the 63,067 signatures necessary to get on the ballot. And I am thrilled to share that we are over 50,000 signatures collected. So we are well on our way to getting there, and we are very well positioned to get the job done by the end of the summer, which is our goal is to submit the signatures by this fall. I spent a little bit of time, actually a lot of time on Tuesday collecting signatures during our primary election day. And I did so in my town where I live, which is a very purple town. And I have to tell you, it was one of the easiest issues I have ever collected signatures for. Like many people in this, I cut my teeth doing field work, and it was just really fun being out there and collecting on election day because almost everybody said yes, because they all agree and understand the importance of this issue. It was just wonderful to be out there talking with Mainers, and that is reflected in how many signatures we were able to collect that day and how far along we are. But we aren't there yet, and we need to keep the momentum going. Obviously, the summer months are the absolute best months to collect the signatures. And again, we need to do so and are hoping to finish the job by the fall. With that, we need to raise $350,000 by the end of the year in order to make this effort successful in this first phase of getting on the ballot. And a bulk of that needs to be raised and spent over the next 3 months. And that's really important because to collect signatures right now, the way we are doing it, is much less expensive than what it will cost if we get behind our schedule and need to hire an outside firm to fill in September to help us get over it. And right now, if we can raise that money and keep collecting signatures on schedule, it is a much more cost-effective way to do it, and much more effective, and will keep us on track. So that is what we are laser focused on doing right now. We have a great team. The folks are, our field team is fantastic. The field director, Chris Kerr, who was unable to join us tonight, but he has been field director on many efforts before, including worked on the ranked choice voting campaign and others. And there's just nobody else I'd rather have leading this charge and for collecting our signatures. And it is a great team. And so that is where our campaign stands. Again, we are focused on the signatures before we move into the next phase, because we got to get this done first. It's kind of it's all or nothing here. And it is just, we're doing it, and it's great. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rob from Represent Us, and Rob's based in Maine too. And we're grateful for his support and for the partnership with Represent Us, which is just it's just wonderful to be working with this organization. Thank you, Rob.
Great. Well, Thank you, Kaitlin. I'm very excited to be here. Represent Us's whole mission is to bring together conservatives, progressives, and everyone in between to pass powerful state and local laws that fix our broken elections and stop political bribery. Every single one of those boxes is checked by this campaign. Even on this call, we have seen true cross-partisanship representation. And the mission of this campaign, it has a direct, both viable and impactful mission to stop political bribery outright. My background, as Kaitlin had mentioned, I grew up in Maine. I live in Maine now. I live in Portland. And I've been working on field campaigns since 2006. Many of those in Maine. Senator Bennett mentioned a 2015 clean elections effort, and I see Andrew Bossy on this call. I ran field for that campaign with Andrew. And a number of marriage equality campaigns across the country before taking on my role with Represent Us in 2015. And in this role, a lot of what I do is tire kicking campaign plans and helping to decide which campaigns are at that right mix of viable and impactful for Represent Us to get involved. And in the conversations that I've had with Kaitlin and with Chris and with everyone on this call, it's really clear to me that this campaign has a winning strategy. They are doing a great job on the signature drive. I have been a part of over a dozen different signature drives, and the fact that they are where they're at through a purely volunteer strategy is really incredible. So really, I just can't stress enough the sort of energy that I feel from the conversations that I've had with members of this campaign. The landscape here in Maine, I'm a little bit of a homer for this state, but there is just such a proven track record for democracy reforms here in the state of Maine, both at the ballot box and also through the legislature. We have, in just the last few years, seen automatic voter registration, online voter registration, an expansion of ongoing absentee, ranked choice voting, first in the nation ranked choice voting policies. We've seen that clean elections work continue to improve and continue to lead here. And this really feels like the next step along a long story of Maine being the state that is leading the nation on these types of policies. And going to the ballot box and going through the ballot initiative process for this, again, continues a long tradition. This effort moved its way with bipartisan support through the legislature, and unfortunately was vetoed at the governor's desk. This is exactly what the ballot initiative process is for. And this is a tremendous opportunity for voters in Maine to have the final say on a really important issue. And based on where early polling is, again, this is an incredibly viable campaign, but it's going to take very real resources to make sure that this campaign sticks the landing. Maine is a state where a investment really goes a far way. We don't have a giant media, multiple media markets that you need to corner, but it does mean that in terms of the budget, there's less wiggle room. When Kaitlin says that she needs $350,000 by the end of this year, that's the number that she needs to make this a viable campaign. And as she mentioned, the earlier that money can be committed, the better it is for the campaign, the better it is for campaign planning. All too often, campaigns like this suffer a problem of having money that arrives too late to spend. So the earlier that we're able to hit that kind of modest budget, the better it is for the campaign planning, the better it is for making sure that our field strategy is implemented as strongly as possible in the most pivotal parts of Maine. So all to say, excited to see this coming to my home state, excited to see some friendly and familiar faces on this call. Always proud to be sharing speaker space with Jeff Clements, who I'll throw to now.
And I am proud indeed to share this with you and Represent Us, and really excited to be working together and with this amazing team. And big shout out to Amy Cartmel, our American Promise chapter leader in Maine, who helped kick off Stand With Maine when Maine was facing a $200 million Senate race in 2020, almost all of the money coming from outside, much of it undisclosed, and could well have included the kind of foreign influence that Congressman Golden was talking about. That's the larger context. This has to win. I mean, we have to get this done, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So Maine helped start the constitutional solution to this problem. We will need an amendment. The Supreme Court isn't going to fix this. It's going to be up to us. Maine, 10 years ago now, was one of the first in the nation, as Rob said, always precedent setting in Maine, first in the nation call on Congress to get a constitutional amendment to enable Maine and the people of the United States to enact laws that can deal with this problem. Now 22 states have done this. So it's fitting that Maine now takes it to the next level and says, you know what, we're also going to put our state ethics commission in charge of making sure Congress does what Maine does, which we don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or independent, work together to get it done in Congress so it can come back to Maine and the states, be ratified, become part of the Constitution, and give the next generation of Americans a much better chance. And by the way, we're going to slam the door shut on foreign government money right now in the state of Maine. So this is just an incredibly inspiring campaign that I'm sure will, like the first kickoff of the constitutional solution, spread across the country. It will take resources. American Promise is all in. We have staff on the ground. We have money on the ground. I see some of our volunteers who've been out there gathering signatures. Ellen, way to go. Nice to see you. And we are very happy to have this growing and expanded. So we can take some questions about the campaign, about the strategy, about the problem, about anything anybody wants to ask about this. Let's open it up. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out while I'm giving shout outs to Colonel Wilkerson, U.S. Army Colonel who's served this country for many decades. We're very proud to have Colonel Wilkerson on our advisory council, and he sure knows about both foreign dangers and plutocratic influence in this country. So Colonel, thank you for all your great work and service. Okay, I see a question. Anthony, you turned your camera on. I don't know if that was because you were preparing to ask something, but we can open up the mic. No, okay. Well, nice to see you too, and welcome. Questions, comments? Here's a question. Where do I send the check? Kaitlin, back to you.
Great question, Jeff. Thank you. I'm going to put the address right in the chat box, and I'll also put the link to donate if you'd prefer to do it online. Thank you.
And of course, we would be happy to have conversations offline. If you want to talk about investing in the campaign and you have questions, you want to talk offline, just let us know, and we'll connect you with Senator Bennett.
Yeah.
Or Kaitlin at the campaign.
And more specifically, I'm putting my cell phone number in the chat, but I'm also it's 207-592-3200. It's absolutely critical to get your involvement now. As Kaitlin was saying, this is the moment. We can really move the needle tremendously in reforming our campaign finance system nationally as well as in Maine. If you get involved now, whatever amount you can do is helpful to us. Kaitlin says $350,000. We're actively fundraising. We, if you've ever been involved in fundraising, you know that it's a kind of a pyramid thing where every little bit, every tiny bit is so additive. I don't care if you can give $5 right now. If every person on this call just like connected to that, oh, I see that she's put it in there, the connection there, and just gave $5, $10, $25. It's hugely helpful. We'll turn that into signatures We'll turn that into reform. We'll turn that into a better functioning democracy for all of you in this country and in Maine. So whatever the amount, please give. It doesn't matter. I'm so delighted to have your support, and I'm so grateful for all of you to tune in tonight. It's really magnificent.
Thank you, Senator Bennett. And we will close it out there unless Kaitlin and Rob have anything else to say. Thank you to everybody. Do take Senator Bennett up on that. If you want to do more than $5, that's helpful too. And
Yes, it is.
and thanks so much. And to everyone who's already invested, who's been working hard, who's been collecting signatures, we're going to win this. It's going to be fantastic. And if you are on this call and you know someone who hasn't invested yet, but who could, let us know. Just shoot that name or introduction to Kaitlin or Senator Bennett or me, and we will follow up for sure, because we do need to grow this fast and not miss this huge opportunity. So thanks to everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Rob.